Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. You are watching our year in review here at 284 Media. On the criminal activity scene, criminal activity ranging from murders to cocaine seizures, burglaries, theft, breach of trust, boat fires. Persons within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force asking for the police commissioner to resign, persons within the community asking for the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force to step up to the plate. So much has taken place when it comes to criminal activity in the Virgin Islands, and I want to really say this solidifying that it's been a record year of a number of activities, and we're going to get into that. But of course, here's a detailed look at our top crime stories. Governor Reinking has once again called for a return of the Police Act to the House of Assembly after lawmakers rejected a version proposed by the governor and passed a watered-down version of the act earlier this year. The most recent bill proposed dozens of revisions to the 2019 version of the bill after that version had also attracted major concerns and public backlash. However, Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalie D. Wheatley back in February of this year said that attempts to modernize the bill and consultations done with the public did not find favor with residents. He said, and I quote, "There were some amendments made to the bill which were troubling to the members of the public." But Governor Reinking has insisted that the bill discarded by lawmakers earlier this year should come back to the House for debate. Reinking argued that the act also hasn't kept pace with modern techniques that criminals use and called for an updated police act in line with best standards in the region, in Europe and in North America to tackle these issues. Throughout 2023, there has been a number of cocaine seizures throughout the Virgin Islands, arguably the most in recent years. Governor Reinking confirmed that nearly 2 tons of cocaine have been seized in the BVI up to the end of October this year. The governor also pointed out that the United Kingdom government has contributed some $2 million towards police training, body cams, and improving facilities for police in the territory to operate. He suggested that this has led directly to some of the successes achieved this past year by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force.
And that's led to a number of successes. We've had this year to the end of October 1.6 tons of cocaine seized by the police.
As residents and officials continue to express concerns over the state of security in the territory, the governor acknowledged that events this past year have been concerning for everyone in the territory. One major and very alarming cocaine find took place on Sunday, October 29th, when the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force confirmed that they retrieved cocaine packages floating at the Road Town Ferry. The statement said, and I quote, "Officers of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force responded to reports of floating packages in the water by the Road Town Ferry terminal on October 29th. Retrieved were some 7 wrapped packages suspected to be cocaine." Both Governor Reinking and Deputy Governor David D. Archer Jr. this past year voiced grave concern over violence and the glorification of crime claiming young lives in the territory.
In recent months have been concerning for everybody in the territory. Too many young people have lost their lives. And we've had a spate of burglaries, and in particular we had the event at the Pier Park with shots being fired in the air in the middle of the day. And I recognise just how concerned the public are about that.
He highlighted the alarming spate in crime seen as eroding community safety. Meanwhile, Deputy Governor David D. Archer reflected on the paradigm shift towards crime becoming a cornerstone of status for some youngsters. He noted that it has gone from where crime was seen as a last resort for people who ended up making poor choices to now becoming a lifestyle that is glorified.
Unfortunately, crime appears to be cool in certain aspects, in particular in the drug trade. There are young men and young women who are aspiring to be the next great drug dealer. But they live in our homes. They go to our churches. They're on the blocks, for lack of a better word, of our communities. And we know who they are. The ability for us to re-tap into the fabric that I grew up in, where we held persons accountable for their actions by saying that is not right, has to come back.
Both officials suggested that beyond policing, solutions rest on addressing root socioeconomic drivers and providing youth options away from gang culture. Governor Rankings said the priority is working collectively to prevent more youth from losing their futures to needless violence. The level of crime in the BVI has been labeled by officials as a direct connection to gang relations across the territory. Throughout the year, a number of boat fires occurred across the territory, mainly on the western side of the island. In April, 2 suspicious fires occurred just several hours apart in West End, which resulted in severe damage to several boats. On Wednesday, October 16, just after 2 a.m., another occurred in close proximity to a popular laundromat. In addition to the destroyed speedboat, police also confirmed a nearby vehicle found riddled with gunshots. A total of over 30 gun seizures occurred this year. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force confirmed that most of the seizures were as a result of stop and search throughout the territory. One such seizure was on September 21st when 3 males were arrested in relation to an ammunition seizure. They were Cordell O'Neill, 38 years old, of Freshwater Pond, Cammy O'Neill, 34, of Old Pockwood Pond, and Jelani Christopher, 31-year-old, of Cane Garden Bay, who were all jointly charged with unlawful possession of explosives. This year saw a number of underage teenagers being arrested after being engaged in criminal activity, from burglary to theft and firearm charges. Issues pertaining to the safety on and off the campus of the only public secondary school and the largest on island, the Elmore Stout High School, were alarming this year. From record street fights with students to incidents with parents getting in altercations with students, the public had a front row seat as videos went viral, one after the other. One such incident was on October 9th when officers of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force were called to the Elmore Stout High School following a large brawl between students of the school. The incident resulted in some students becoming fearful and requesting to be dismissed early from classes. Officials from the school sent a notice to parents and guardians of students advising of the incident on campus. Additionally, on October 26th, it was reported that a student was found with a bullet in his school bag. On Wednesday, September 6, 21-year-old Kieran Hodge was arrested and charged after an operation by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force led to the seizure of an AK-47 rifle and a quantity of ammunition. Hodge, a resident of Purcell Estate, was the lone person arrested, and he was charged with 1 count of possession of a prohibited weapon and 2 counts of unlawful possession of explosives. On Thursday, September 21st, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force charged Nyron Erickson with 21 offenses after returning to the territory after criminal charges relating to money laundering were withdrawn in the USVI. The criminal offenses include 7 counts of possession of a prohibited weapon, 11 counts of keeping a firearm without a license, 2 counts of possession of a controlled drug with intent to supply another, and 1 count of possession of the proceeds of criminal conduct. The force said that Erickson's arrest and subsequent charges stemmed from inquiries into high-level organized criminal activities being perpetrated by linked individual. Erickson remains in police custody. 2 men were this year charged in relation to the daring daylight robbery at the House of Luxury Jewelry store at the Cyril B. Rumney Tortola Pier Park on Saturday, July 1st that rocked the territory. Charged for robbery and possession of a firearm with intent to commit an indictable offense were Sirmal Mitchell, 35, of Sandbox, and Jelani Marquise, 27, of Hannah's Estate. On Saturday, July 1st, around 2 p.m., officers were called to the scene of an armed robbery at the Cyril B. Rumney Tortola Pier Park. Employees of the store reported that 2 armed, masked individuals entered the store dressed in all white and removed several pieces of jewelry from the showcase. Both fled the scene toward the parking lot with a quantity of the store's merchandise. The value of the stolen items has not been stated. The most alarming phase of this event was that one of the perpetrators discharged a firearm while outside the compound, while adults and children hid in fear. No injuries were reported. On October 9th, a female was injured in a shooting incident that involved a vehicle from His Majesty's Prison. Initial reports from residents indicated that a prison bus traveling in the eastern area of Tortola received numerous gunshots, resulting in the injury of 1 prison officer. 2 victims were shot during a shooting incident that occurred at the DHL office in Fish Bay in the early evening of October 17th. Both the victims survived the attack. 2 residents of Greenland East End were charged in connection with the death of a 9-month-old boy who died on April 7th. They were 35-year-old Monica King and 25-year-old Juwan Richardson, who Each received a charge of manslaughter on Tuesday, April 25th. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the two were caring for the male infant at the time of his death on April 7th. The boat owner that was this year charged in relation to the October 2021 deadly boating accident that resulted in the death of local Frandy Martin Jr. was revealed as British millionaire Graham Stanton. The identity of Stanton was revealed in a newspaper article by British media, The Mirror, on Monday, March 20th. According to the article, Stanton, who is charged with manslaughter and with failing to render assistance after a collision, is the son-in-law of Tory peer Ian Macpherson, who holds the title of Lord Strancurrion. Stanton is the second person to be charged in relation to the death of Martin, the other being Andrew Morell, who was arrested and charged with manslaughter and causing serious injury to a person while on board a vessel, along with failing to render assistance after collision. Morell was subsequently granted bail. According to the UK media house, the boat Blue Bayo has since been repainted and renamed following the accident. Over a year has passed since the tragic boat accident that claimed the lives of businesswoman Crystal Black and a 6-year-old girl, and the victims' families are still seeking answers. In November of this year, a man identifying himself as the father of Black's young son called into Tola Radio to express his frustration and demand answers from Commissioner of Police Mark Collins surrounding an apparent lack of progress in the police investigation. The caller criticized the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force for their failure to communicate with Black's family and the apparent lack of advancement in the case. He lamented that the family has yet to receive an accident report more than a year after the incident. The man expressed growing frustration over the situation and the feeling that no action is being taken to address what many perceive as obvious wrongdoings related to the case. In response to the caller's concerns, Police Commissioner Mark Collins provided a limited update on the case, reiterating that the matter remains under investigation. This is very similar to a record number of pending cases within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force that remain open with no closure to victims and their families. On September 20th, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force confirmed the unauthorized landing of an aircraft at the Auguste George Airport. According to a statement by the police, the incident occurred in the wee hours of the morning. Prior to the confirmation from police, reports circulated across the territory of an airplane crash on the sister island. However, police confirmed that the plane landed safely but erupted in flames shortly after. Speculations as to the events leading to the burning of the plane loomed, with Governor Ranking saying, and I quote, "In many cases, vessels are burnt to hide evidence of criminal activity and wrongdoing." A former Republic Bank employee and former treasurer of the Virgin Islands Festival and Fairs Committee, 45-year-old Luz Sanchez, was this year charged for taking funds from someone else's local bank account. According to a report from the police, the woman was charged with 16 counts of theft and 1 count of forgery on December 15th. Senior government official Wade Smith was this year charged with a breach of trust concerning an ongoing investigation within His Majesty's Customs. Despite repeated inquiries from the media, there has been no response regarding the decision to withhold the official's name from the public despite it being known. It is customary for the police to release the names of persons who have been arrested and charged. Several public servants and other officials have been charged with breach of trust in the wake of the Commission of Inquiry, which ended last year, and names have also been released. A private petition signed by dozens of concerned officers within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force has called for the dismissal of Police Commissioner Mark Collins from office. The petition cites a slew of allegations ranging from misconduct to abuse of power and was submitted to Governor Ranking on Monday, December 11th. Premier Dr. Natalia Wheatley, Home Secretary James Cleverly, Parliamentary Undersecretary of State David Rutley, and Chairman of the Police Service Commission Rosalie Gardner have been notified of the private petition calling for the removal of Commissioner Collins. The petition outlines 55 allegations against Commissioner Collins, spanning issues such as interference with justice, abuse of office, and violations of fundamental rights. The central accusations stem from an email sent on October 5th, where Commissioner Collins allegedly instructed his executive team to destroy evidence related to an ongoing case. Collins later denied those allegations and argued that it was an internal matter between two police officers that he dealt with severely. The petition contends that the top cop's actions amount to a willful abuse of power and interference with the administration of justice. The officers further argued that such behavior erodes public trust in the office and violates the constitutional rights of its citizens. Among the other allegations are claims of corruption, nepotism, and favoritism within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. Under Commissioner Collins' leadership, the petition accuses him of manipulating promotion processes, imposing himself on the Public Service Commission, and fostering a culture of deceit within the force. The petition also stressed that the Commissioner's alleged actions have caused a significant decline in morale among officers and have damaged the credibility of the police force. The missive urges Governor Rankin to exercise his constitutional obligation and initiate an independent investigation into the allegations, emphasizing the need for transparency, fairness, and justice. Meanwhile, the petition noted that many officers were approached. However, even though they are in support of the petition, there is fear of victimization by the Commissioner and his management team, and they chose not to sign. This is the second time in recent years that Collins has been pressed to resign over controversial actions or statements that he has made. A total of 6 murders took place this year. This is confirmed by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. They are Asim Jonas, murdered in Longbush; Julio Rivera, murdered in Road Town in the National Bank parking lot; Yan Edwards, murdered in Parham Town; Jakeem Christopher, murdered in Road Town by UP's Cineplex; Kimo Letsum, murdered in Long Look; and Ricardo Farrell, murdered in Kingston. As mentioned, there was such a myriad of criminal activity throughout the Virgin Islands in 2023, and we want to make sure that we're, in my opinion, as a Virgin Islander, just bringing this down to a minimal, but it seems like it's increasing. From cocaine bust, the internal fight within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and its leadership, persons within the trust of the community, really bridging the gap. We have a number of teenagers. We have a fight at the Elmore Stout High School where persons essentially are questioning, what does our secondary education look like? It's been a hell of a year when it comes to that.
It has been, for sure, and I feel like a lot of the activities we saw this year, we're really going to see the aftermath, the fallout into 2024 when some of these cases go to court, especially this case of the teenagers. I believe they faced a magistrate recently. So we're really going to see what happens from there and what kind of programs the government is going to put forward, if any, to help address the situation.
And you talk about measures in terms of government, but we also have to see from the police perspective, what will happen as a result of the signings, or in terms of the police signing on this piece of petition, basically to rid of the current Mr. Mark Collins. We have to see whether he will be here in 2024 and what that means for the head of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. In addition as well, we also have to look at, you would have mentioned in terms of reviewing crime, the Police Act. That's a very critical piece of legislation. We have to see whether that will be pushed forward, considering we have a shift at the head from Governor Rankin leaving, obviously exiting the territory, and a new lead from 2024, to see whether there will be the same motive to push the Police Act, to see whether we can instill more measures to strengthen not only the police, but also to put in terms of, we have the witness protection, etc. Those other legislation that are critical for people to come forward to also help in the prosecution process. We do know 2024, we will also look to see what happens with the DPP's office, considering
I'm happy you mentioned the DPP's
number of cases that happened in 2023 with so many persons being found not guilty based off of technicalities in the process leading up in terms of gathering evidence. So much to look forward in 2024, and so many different entities that we have to also pay close attention to see whether they put the right measures in place to quell the rising crime that we would have seen in 2023.
You talk about putting the right measures, but I have to interject here. Not only putting the right measures, but putting our money where our mouth is. We recently had a new head of prisons at His Majesty Royal Prison, and I think that we have to look closely at that, because one of the issues that we're facing holistically as a country is the number of persons that are on remand. Okay, in addition to on remand, there are a number of cases that are pending. We of course spoke about that in our package, but what are we doing to really not fast track and rush the process? But you can't holistically, have persons on remand. You can't have victims and their families waiting for justice for years. It is unacceptable. And you mentioned, Kamal, the DPP's office. I'm going to say right here, we have to do better. There is no way that you could have a country, no way you could have a state of affairs when it comes to criminal activity and our prison system where all of it, the majority, is on remand. What are victims supposed to do? Like, how are we supposed to grow and grieve and grow and continue to, continue to move and shift the trajectory of our territory and feel better about our neighborhoods when some of the same criminals, they're not only behind bars, but they're being released because our system is essentially broken.
And not only that, we also have to look at, you talk about the process, but also the jury pool.
Of course.
The territory, BVI being so small,
Limited,
that has been an issue for the past few years. So we have to see if there will be any amendments made to the Jury Act to accommodate a new formula to have more jury, a wider jury selection, to also try to speed up the processes of these court proceedings.
Absolutely. And Ron, just to add to what you said, because I feel like your views resonate, the views of so many Virgin Islanders in terms of the justice system and the way it is right now. Of course, that ties into the COI,
of course,
the review of the justice systems. And in the first quarter of 2024, there's supposed to be a review of individual police officers.
Yes.
So we do need to keep our eyes peeled on that for sure.
Well, one of the things that I want to add when it comes to the criminal justice system, let's take, for example, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. There seems to be, on the when I say state level, I mean with the governor, okay? There seems to be some areas of justice that are untouched. And when I say that, I mean you have the governor, of course, who is, of course, when it comes to security. And then you have the National Security Council that entails the governor, the premier, and the police commissioner. And no matter how you call them and ask them for a question or answer, it is always more information.
Yeah.
How in God's name are you going to be the leader of government business, one, the leader of the criminal justice system, and the governor who's responsible for national security, not only with natural disasters, but crime, and you never have an answer to give the people? That is unacceptable.
And it's important that you actually mentioned that. I just add, we would have recently seen an arrest of
the government official.
A government official.
Yes.
And to this day,
Yes.
the media has been asking for some sort
What's
of...
the name?
Absolutely,
What is
but
the name?
members of the public have their names released.
So we have to wait in 2024 to see if that will finally be released to the public.
All right. Over the course of 2023, the Virgin Islands community has been hit with an enormous amount of grief, with the territory saying goodbye to some of our pioneering leaders, in key areas such as education, different industries, and most importantly, and unfortunately, we've lost a number of persons when it comes to gun violence. We take a moment to pause here at 284 Media to remember those we lost. As mentioned, guys, we lost a number of pioneering persons within education, culture, business, and unfortunately, we continue to lose mostly our young men to gun violence. I think it's very important, and it's always heart-wrenching every year that we do this, that we remember the persons that we've lost throughout our community, no matter the age. I mean, we've lost someone as young as a toddler. To as old as a centenarian. It is important that we as a community remember those that we've lost and their contributions, no matter the circumstances surrounding their death.